noise down from YouTube. There we go. We've got one person watching it. So the idea is with this podcast, I've called this podcast Three Teachers. When I first started my YouTube channel, my Instagram and Facebook channel, I thought, why don't we have like a two teachers podcast? But I kind of shelved that because it's easy enough on Instagram. So I've decided, right, let's have like three teachers since everybody does two teachers, you know. So this is going out on the Ajarn Ken Getting Those Tips podcast. So I'll no doubt it'll go on your podcast, David, and your podcast as well, Stu. Yeah. So shall we do the introductions first and foremost? Who would like to do their introduction first? Me, Stu, or David?
It's your podcast, buddy. Crack on.
For those that don't know, my name's Ken, and I've been an English teacher for about 12 years, since the last decade, 2008, long time now. And most recently, I've been teaching in Thailand for about 10 years, and I was teaching university graduates how to get jobs in the airlines, how to pass interviews for the airlines, you know, for things like Qatar Airways, Emirates, and the local as well. And I decided to move back to Scotland last year. Here's my taxi. Can you hear it? There we go. And so I moved back to Scotland, and I've been kind of growing my Instagram, Get English Tips, for the last year or so. I'm now up to about 140,000 followers there. So that's myself, a native English speaker from Scotland. Who's next?
Yay!
Yay! Round of applause. So we've got to do what do you call it? The
Jazz hands.
Jazz hands. That's it there. So
come on, Dave.
Next.
Ooh, thanks, Stu. Good evening, everybody. It's evening here in Japan. My name's David. I am Indian, born and raised in Brunei, which means I'm not a native English speaker, but English is my first and strongest language. I've been speaking it since I was probably 3-4 years old, as long as I can remember. And I've been teaching English since 2012. So probably not quite as long as the other two gentlemen on the call with us today, but it's something that I love to do. I don't work as an English teacher anymore full time, but it is what I do online because I still love it. I still enjoy it. I'm still passionate about it. So that's me.
Fantastic. Welcome along, David. And Mr. Stu Sensei.
Okay, hello guys. My name is Stu Sensei. I am from England and I live in Japan, just like David. Actually, I've been doing English teaching a little less than most other people here, just 5 years, but I've been involved in teaching in some style throughout my life, even since I was 16, but not necessarily English. And I just love it. So I created my social media because I just didn't have time to do online lessons because of my full-time job, but still wanted to provide some information to students. And then it's grown and grown since then. So yeah, similar to Ken, similar to David, putting out a lot of content on social media, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. I'm everywhere,
TikTok
unfortunately.
Man, you know, you're the TikTok, right?
Yeah, it's my dance moves. That's the thing. Yeah, I'm the most nimble of the group, I think, today.
Fantastic. Well, guys, thanks very much for coming along. Now, the idea behind this is I get so many questions through my Instagram channel and my Facebook channel, pretty much like yourselves, yeah. And normally I'll do my podcast and I'll just kind of speak for about 40 minutes and give my opinion on everything. And I thought this must be pretty boring listening to Ken for like 45, 50 minutes, you know. I bore myself maybe sometimes, you know. So I thought, well, why don't we invite another couple of teachers along and we can all kind of answer the questions together, you know, and put across your opinion of it and your examples as well of these questions. So the questions generally are all kind of varied, you know, and some of the, you know, being a native English speaker, I'm sure Stu and I spoke about this before. When we're at school, when we're, you know, at primary school and high school, we don't actually get taught English. We just speak it. So when I first became a teacher, one of my Spanish friends, when I lived in Spain, said, "Ken, what's the perfect tense?" And I had no idea what they were talking about, what the perfect tense is. I've no idea at all, you know. We just speak in it, you know, speak the tenses. So this is where I started thinking, right, I need to become a little bit more about a little bit more about the vocabulary of, you know, the tenses, etc. And you know, so we're in the unfortunate position that sometimes we don't actually know, you know, some of the answers that the students ask us. You know, we have to research them and this is how it works, you know. So sometimes non-native teachers actually have more of an insight into English than, you know, native speakers such as ourselves. They know all the terms, the terminology, etc. So some of the times when I get questions, I don't actually know. I have to do a bit of research, you know. So I felt that this would actually, you know, kind of help everyone if we can actually, you know, share our knowledge with, you know, with what the students are asking. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen with you just now, because this is actually going out live on our YouTube channel, yeah. So I've called this the Three Teacher Podcast, episode 1, a new beginning in podcasting, yeah, for us Instagram teachers.
A day in history.
So the first question that I got that I'll put on here is, the first one is, somebody's asked us, how can I use the term no longer in a sentence? No longer. What does it mean, no longer, and how can we use it? So who would like to go first, or will I go first? What I think behind this?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. No longer really means that something happened in the past and now it doesn't. You know, there may be usually maybe like an action in the past and now it doesn't. For example, before I used to live in Spain, but now no longer. I now live in Scotland. Yeah. I used to speak Thai, but now I no longer speak Thai very well because I no longer live in Thailand. Yeah. So no longer really is an action in the past, and now it doesn't. You no longer do that action. Yeah, the action I keep saying no longer. The action happens no more, as it were. Yeah. So what do you no longer do then, Stu or David?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I no longer sleep. No, I no longer watch TV. I definitely put my time into more what I consider more important things within my life. I try and schedule myself a lot better.
Do you? Yeah. Why do you no longer watch TV?
Because I found like there'd be two things that I did a lot of in my past that didn't really give me anything, that I didn't really gain anything from. I probably gained skills. You gain skills from everything, but I didn't feel like I gained a lot from it. One of them was Football Manager. It took over part of my life. I think at one point I used to love Football Manager. I could probably go back and play it again religiously, but yeah, that was one. And then watching TV shows on Netflix was another. So I decided the start of last year just to made a calendar for myself. Actually, I recommend this to any learner. Actually, it's really useful when you're trying to work out where you've got time to practice English. But I made a calendar and just put in the most essential stuff, like I need to work, I need to sleep, I need to eat. And then all the white stuff, which wasn't colored in from stuff you need to do, is all the stuff I could put into a project.
Okay.
And yeah, I think it's really invaluable little task to do. So yeah, that's what I did.
Fantastic. Good. Anything else you no longer do? How would you describe no longer, Stu? If
I think you did it perfectly, actually. It's just something that doesn't happen anymore. Yeah. So I think the way you described it was perfect. And as in things that I no longer do, I no longer play soccer regularly because I'm fat.
You sure it's not the other way around?
It's definitely not skill based because obviously I was the next Ronaldo, but yeah, that would be the honest answer. How about you, David? What do you no longer do?
I no longer play video games. So kind of similar to you, Stu. I used to spend so much time like we're talking like up to half the day playing League of Legends on my computer or Counter-Strike or something like that. I used to be just glued to my computer. And I don't do that anymore. I don't even have games installed on my computer anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I had to do the same. Purge. You have to purge the place.
This like cold turkey, is it?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Is this like cold turkey where you stop immediately doing it, yeah? You no longer go near it?
Yeah, for me, it didn't feel like cold turkey. Like a bunch of other things just kind of helped, where I didn't even feel the need to play it anymore. I didn't even feel interested in it anymore. I just had other priorities come up, which ended up taking all of my attention, all of my time, and also at the same time giving me my my satisfaction, my dopamine hit. So I left university, moved to Japan, started a full-time job, and then I got married very soon after that. So spending time with my wife, that's one thing that became much more important than video games.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then in addition to that, like I started.
Is she in the room?
Media.
Is that why you said that? Is she in the room?
No, she can't. She's not in the room, but she can. I'm pretty sure she's listening in on this conversation.
Good move. Good move.
Yeah.
So in answer to the question, how can I use no longer? It just means doing something in the past and now that action doesn't happen.
I want to add.
Yeah.
I want to add one other thing to like how we explain no longer. I like to often draw links or connections to other bits of language that learners may already know. Mm-hmm. So you know how we use the word long to describe time, how long something lasts, right? Mm. So when you say that we're going to play this game for a little bit longer, it means we're going to continue doing it longer or for a longer time. So when we say no longer, it's the negative. We are not going to continue doing it longer. And so that's kind of how there's that. That's why we use that expression to describe not continuing something or stopping something.
That's actually quite a good. I've never thought about that. Yeah. I'm going to play this a little bit longer, and now I'll stop. So it's no longer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a nice. Yeah, for sure.
Genius, David. Genius.
100%.
Thank you. I don't get called a genius all the time, but thank you. It feels good.
Excellent. Okay, right. So no longer. Hope that's answered the questions on how we can use it. Another one we have here. This is pretty easy. What is the difference between who and whom? Pretty basic grammar question, but although it does kind of confuse a lot of students, doesn't it? Who and whom. We get asked this quite a lot of times. Yeah. Who wants to answer this? Who would like to go into this?
Yeah, sure, I don't mind. So it's basically to do with the subject and the object, isn't it? But that's kind of technical. So let's say the subject is the thing or something that's doing something, and the object is the thing it's being done to. So we use who when referring to the subject, and we use whom referring to the object. It's a bit more than that, but that's the easiest way to remember, I think, isn't it?
So, for example, have you got an example?
Who am I talking to?
Ooh, and then, am I talking to?
And then whom? Good question. I am talking to whom? I am talking to whom?
To whom? I think we would say, and this is where it's a bit confusing, isn't it? I think we would say.
I was trying to reverse that, but.
To whom am I talking to? Because
sorry, to whom I'm talking
to. Because I'm doing the action, But in English, as you say, in English we don't actually say to whom am I talking. It's very, very.
It sounds very Shakespeare-esque.
Yeah, so it's very, very archaic, doesn't it? So I'm talking. So who is doing the action, and whom is receiving the action? Yeah.
Like way back when I started my YouTube channel, this was one of the first few videos that I made. Like when I was like talking like a robot in front of the camera. So this is one of those videos that I made. I actually remade that video probably beginning of this year, and it was a sponsored post, so I kind of made it again. And I had to do research before making this video myself. Sure. So Strictly speaking, I think we would say, whom am I talking to? That grammatically speaking, whom would be correct, but we don't speak like that anymore. As Stu
No.
said, that sounds Shakespearean. So we would say, who am I talking to? But whenever there is a preposition immediately before the word who or whom, it would always be whom, and we can't swap it with a who.
What do you mean, for example?
So, for example, who am I talking to is correct,
Yeah.
or it's commonly used and it's acceptable.
Yeah.
Who am I talking to is also grammatically correct. But as soon as you put a preposition immediately before the word whom, you cannot use who. So it has to be, to whom am I talking?
All right. Yeah. All right. Okay.
And one way that you can tell whether you can use whom or not is to just think about how you'd answer the question. So I would answer the question, who am I talking to, with I am talking to Ken and Stu, or I am talking to them. And the word them, the pronoun them is the object form of the word. It's not I'm talking to they, it's I'm talking to them. And so that's why we'd use the whom in the question. We're asking about who I'm talking to rather than who's doing the talking.
All right. And also as well, like going on that then, whom has an M at the end of the word, doesn't it? Whom.
Yeah.
Them and whom kind of merging together, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Good wee tip that, no? Good tip.
Yeah.
Go on.
Excellent.
Knocking it out of the park.
Knock it out of the park. So who would be the subject, whom is the object, and who does the action and who receives the action? Yeah, in summary, yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Who does the action, who receives it? I'm gonna steal that.
Oh, that's $1. See, these things are actually good. I think sometimes when we're actually speaking with teachers, we just have general conversation rather than
100%.
Going into the nuts and bolts of how you teach, you know?
Yeah.
Anyone else want to add anything to this, folks? No?
No.
Okay, let's have a look at the next one. David, do you want to read this one? What is the difference between say, speak, and tell? This is very, very common, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And I'm just for the fun of it, let's add another word that's kind of related to them. Talk.
Talk. Let me write in talk then, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first thing I would do is I would split these 4 into 2 pairs. I would put say and tell as a pair.
Oh my God! Okay, I won't change that there. Okay.
Right, but it's cool. You don't have to change it. Say and tell would be a pair, and then speak and talk, I'd put them on the other side.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I think say and tell are words that are used to describe or focus on the content of what is being said, the message, the content of the message. Whereas speak and talk is more focused on the activity of delivering a message with your voice, of talking or speaking. It doesn't necessarily focus on what you're actually saying.
So it's more about like the ability to speak and the ability to talk, yeah?
Yeah.
Kind of thing, yeah?
Yeah.
What's the difference then between say and tell? What would you say?
Ooh, I'm gonna pass that on to Stu.
Very kind of you. I think one of them is with the object and one of them is without, because you can tell him or he tells. You can tell him, but you can't say him.
Right. Yeah. So we can say I told him, but I said to him. Yeah. Kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. I generally, when this comes up, I kind of try and explain it like tell is more of like specific information. I told him the details of our plan type of thing. Yeah. But say would just be general conversation, maybe. I don't know if that would be agreeable. So like in native English speak, when you're speaking, you hear it generally amongst older folk, older than us. When they're talking, they would always say something like, and I said to him this, and then he said to me that. So it's like a general conversation, yeah. But
Ah,
I told him something specific. I told him, you know, so it's kind of like more specific, I guess.
Yeah, it's more about the actual information than it is about just what was said, right? In
Yeah,
general.
yeah. What's the difference between speak and talk then? What would you say? Because I think that'd be quite difficult to try and.
Yeah, like
is speak more formal? Because I would use speak in a business setting, but I would probably use I talk to my friend, I speak to my boss,
Uh-huh.
but that might just be like the way that I would use it personally.
So
yeah.
I feel
that against you?
I I would use speak for a more formal situation, like with my boss. I
Uh-huh.
wouldn't. If I'm talking to my wife, I might say I talk to my boss. But if
Uh-huh.
I'm talking to a colleague that I don't really know, I'd probably say I'm speaking to the boss. Talk feels, I don't know, just
Yeah.
thinking about how I would use it personally. I would
Mm.
use talk as in a more informal setting. Sorry,
Talk more
with my
informal.
friends.
All right. Okay. Okay. What do you think, David?
Yeah, speak and tell. I think like what Stu just said kind of got me thinking. I was like, yeah, actually that makes sense. I think there's probably multiple different subtle differences or nuances between them.
Yeah, 100%.
So one of them would be, as Stu pointed out, the formal informal thing. The other one I think could be how personal it sounds. For example, to say, I want to speak to you about something
Yeah,
sounds
100%.
sounds a little bit more important than and
Yeah,
personal and intimate than I want to talk to you about something.
Ah, right. Okay.
yeah, 100%. It sounds
Yeah.
like this. You've done something wrong. Yeah, your teacher would say, "I want
Yeah,
to speak to you,"
yeah,
when you've
yeah.
done something wrong.
And then another difference as well with speak is it can sound like it's something one way. So we often
Yeah.
use it
Okay.
to talk about a speech, right? So he delivered a speech, and that's more one way. But when you say we were talking, we would never say we were. But we would say we were speaking. Cancel that. Never mind.
I
I'm
think,
talking.
yeah, I mean, one thing I tend to think is it comes with the next words, for example, to or with. So if you speak with someone, it generally implies that it's a two-way conversation. But if
Yeah.
you talk to someone, as you say, it's like, I'm going to talk to my boss, I'm going to talk to someone. It's almost like you're in trouble, you know?
Yeah.
So I think speak and talk might just be the same for me
Mm.
anyway, but it comes with is it a preposition with or to after it?
Mhm.
Is that going to change the kind of meaning and the feeling behind it, maybe? Like
Yeah. I
Hmm.
think that makes
I
sense.
understand that.
talk
Yeah,
to,
100%.
maybe?
Oh,
Yeah.
there's one other thing I'd want to add on say and tell. As
Yeah.
I think I stole this from another teacher's video that I came across somewhere. But there's this slogan that I used to tell my students
Mhm.
about, and it was it's who do you tell and what do you say? Who do you tell? What do you say?
Ah.
So we tell someone about something,
Uh-huh.
and we say something to someone, or we
Ah, right. That's a
right.
yeah.
It's he said he needs to go, or
Yeah.
he said to me that he needs to go. He told me he needs to go. So
Mm.
it's the who do you tell, what do you say kind of thing.
Who do you tell? What do you? Ah, that's quite cool actually. I like
Yeah.
that. Never thought on it that way. Yeah. Who do you tell? What do you say? So tell is more directional and say is more kind of general. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I like it.
Mm.
Good. Anything else we want to add to this one?
No.
No. So
Um,
say, and in summary, say is more kind of general. Tell is more specific, and speak and talk is more specific as well. Did you say? Or it's more the ability, isn't it?
it's
It's more
more
the ability to communicate
yeah.
our mouth.
I think we also said that like speak sounds like a little bit more formal or intimate,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
talk is like a little less formal.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Right. Another question we have is, what is the meaning of surround? Surround. It's quite an unusual word, actually, surround, isn't it? It must be quite difficult for non-natives to get a grasp of this. So surround. What do you think, surround? For me, surround would be something that is all around you, yeah?
Yep.
I think, yeah. We are, to get good at English, you have to be surrounded by English, surrounded by good teachers, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Not going to add to that.
Is it very, very
surround to make something become all around.
Give me an example, David, of surround. What example sentence could you tell learners about surround? In your experience?
Come out with your hands up. We've got the building surrounded.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You are the cops. The cops are all around the building, yeah? We have them surrounded, yeah?
We've surrounded the building.
Yeah. We have.
Let go of the hostages.
Do we use it in the normal simple tense, surround? We have you surrounded, that would be the perfect tense, right?
Yeah, you're right.
I am surrounded by native speakers. That would be the passive voice, yeah? Do we use it in simple tense? I surround you. No?
Let's surround them. Let's surround that building.
That's the imperative. That's the imperative.
Yeah.
I feel, that's difficult to put that into the simple tense, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like it's used more commonly in the passive voice or in the perfect tense than it is just as it is,
Yeah. So surround, perfect tense and passive voice to mean all around you, yeah?
Yeah.
Stu, you want to add something?
No, I literally just think of kings in this kind of context. So when the army surrounds a king in a battle, or surrounds the enemy, that's literally all I think of.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
So just all around the enemy, yeah?
Yeah, I think you guys summed it up very, very nicely.
Okay, good, easy then, yeah? So surround. What is the difference between all and whole? Another question that's come in. This is difficult, isn't it? What is the difference between all and whole? What do you think?
Is it to do with, I haven't researched this, I haven't really seen this question before, but I'm just thinking about how I would use it in language. And all can be used with plural, but I can't imagine a situation where whole can be used with a plural. Like
like for example,
all of the chickens, whole of the chickens sounds weird, yeah.
So all could be like a group of something.
Yes,
where
I think you can also use it for a single, obviously, as well. All of it,
all day,
the whole of it. We would use both of those, but that's the difference. The one difference I can see between these two.
Yeah. David, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Like the first example that came to mind was all day and whole day. Like all day and the whole day. It's where both the object of both of these words is the word day, which is singular, but you can't say whole of the days. You can't say that, like, where days becomes plural, but you can say all the days of April, for example.
All right, so all is kind of used with more or less with a plural difference, and whole is more to do with single.
Yeah, or all can be used for either, and whole can only be used to describe a singular noun.
All the information, the whole information. So for
information is like a non-countable, so I would treat that as a singular. Yeah, I would treat that as a singular. But if we're talking about like countable nouns, which are either plural or singular, I think whole. I can't think of an example where I'd use whole with a plural noun.
The whole people, no. The whole country, yeah, it would just be a single, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So all would be kind of, so we're using a collective, if you like, and the whole is just like one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Easy. Yeah. Okay, so that's a bit difficult to explain actually, but here's an easy one, which I like. When do we use I've got? I'm confused about that. I've got. You did a video about this recently, David. I saw it.
I think I saw it actually when I was scrolling through my feed. Go for it, Ken. I think you should do it. It's fresh.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. When I was studying for my exams, this question actually came up. I've got, and I've got a pencil. I've got a phone. We use it because in English we don't actually say, when we're speaking, we don't say I have a pencil, I have a phone. It doesn't sound natural, it doesn't sound smooth. And what I was told was that if we use got, it actually helps us with our rhythm. So instead of us saying I've some money or I've glasses, we would actually use got to sound a little bit more fluent and more rhythm with it. I don't think got means anything rather than actually adding some fluency to the sentence. So native speakers wouldn't say I've, it's difficult to say it. I've money. It doesn't sound natural for me, you know. But I would say I've got money or I've got some money, I think. So I think this kind of contraction would adds to the fluency and the smoothness of your sentence and the rhythm of when you speak, you know.
Question, Ken, like this is kind of interesting for me. Would you say I have money or I have? Like you wouldn't even say I have without contracting it? Instead of saying I have, you would, as it is?
We would always use it with a contraction. We wouldn't say I have got money.
What about I have money?
I have got.
I have money, you mean?
Got money, that's 5 syllables. But if we say I've got money, that's 4 syllables. So it sounds easier to actually say, I think, you know.
Do you mean I have money, David?
No, instead of saying I have money without contracting the word have, without would you just say I have money?
I would say I have some money, but I was wondering myself whether, again, it's a formal and informal thing, because I can imagine in a court them saying I have the evidence, but I can't imagine them saying I have got the evidence. Maybe that's just me though. Just trying to,
Absolutely. I think it's more formal to say I have the evidence. But if we are kind of like you know, chatting informally and speaking, we would generally say I've got the evidence. It sounds much, I guess it sounds much
more natural.
More natural, doesn't it? Yeah. We wouldn't say I have money, and we wouldn't say, I don't think
have you got any money? I've got some money, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Have you got any money? Yeah, this kind of thing. Yeah.
But could it possibly be situational specific?
What do you mean?
So, for example, could it just be used in one location or in one setting? Is it used, because we're both from Britain, is it used often for us, or is it not used in other places? I had no idea about that kind of thing in terms of usage around the world. I'm just trying to think of what other reasons, because also I have some money makes sense to me as well.
Yeah, I mean, are you talking like an American or Australian?
Or anywhere else?
I think so. I mean, I think on TV they'll say, I've got this, I've got that, I've got him, you know, the police, I've managed
I've got him.
That kind of thing, yeah. So I think it's more to do with speaking rather than writing, you know, and we must always use the contraction and say I've got and not I have got. That just kind of
that's really unnatural, isn't it?
It's very unnatural, isn't it? But I guess it's more like a speaking thing, isn't it, rather than a written thing as well. Yeah. What do you think, David?
You know, it's I think it might, I'm not sure about this, but it might be a regional thing perhaps, because I think I've heard people say I've got, and I just kind of feel like perhaps most of the people that I've heard using that expression are from like somewhere close to the UK.
Yeah.
And I don't hear it as much from Hollywood, or from like most of the media that I grew up on.
Yeah.
So I'm very used to, like, I don't say I've got, I never say it. I
What
would
do you say?
rather, yeah,
What's
for
the
me,
you?
I think what comes naturally or subconsciously is I have rather than I've got.
Yeah, just no got. Yeah.
Yeah, just no got.
Really? Uh-huh.
Yeah, I have some money. I have a car. I have a pen. I have a phone. And then like I would use got, but I think like I would use that in the example that you just gave, like the police have got him, which like got kind of carries this connotation of catching someone.
Sure.
You know, or
yeah, so not possession, like a personal possession.
Not possession. Yeah, not possession, but more of like catching something. So yeah, I'm not sure. Like I'm not used to using I've got to mean I have.
Yeah.
But I know that I've heard it a lot on British media, and I hear it from a lot of my friends or acquaintances from the UK.
Yeah. Interesting.
That's interesting.
So yeah. So I've got, we will use it certainly in the UK, certainly we will use it as the contraction and not say I have got, and just it's more of, you know, the contraction I've got. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Cool. So I hope that's answered that question. That's really important, that one, actually, you know, I think. Right, where have we got? Stu. How to put wee hours into a sentence?
Into a sentence. It's usually, I just think of a drunken night, to be honest with you, whenever I think of see this. So I was out to the wee hours, drinking with my friends or something. Yeah. Just even I was up till the wee hours is enough. Last night I was up to the wee hours. Yeah. Like it just basically means the very, very, very late, like AM time frame before you get up. So you go to bed super late.
Yeah. Like 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. the wee hours.
Yeah.
What's the threshold for wee hours for you guys? I think this is subjective. Like it's probably different for Ken than it is to Stu. So like for me, when someone says wee hours, I think like wee hours of the night or wee hours of the morning. I think like 3 a.m. Any time from 3 a.m. onwards till sunrise. What about for you?
Well, and you know, I think wee is actually a Scottish word meaning small.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Is it a Scottish word? Yeah. So to put to the small hours, but when we say it, we would actually say the wee small hours. We would actually double barrel it.
That's amazingly interesting. I've heard that actually, because you said it now, I'm thinking about it, but yeah. That's amazingly interesting.
And the party went on to the wee small hours, you know, so to the small hours, I guess, you know. So maybe that's like maybe 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, I think, you know. So the wee hours, I guess, is you're partying all the, you know, into the early morning, right?
Yeah.
The wee hours. WEE. Wee actually also means to go for a toilet, yeah, for a kid.
100%.
The onesies.
Yeah. The what? What was that?
Onesies.
The onesies. What's a onesie?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So I just looked at the etymology about it. This is really like the history of it. It's very, very interesting. So it does come from Scottish. I don't know, but maybe from Celtic originally. Not sure. Around the Middle English time, so say the 1200s, and originally it was used as a little wee, which means a little bit, which is interesting. So wee technically means like bit, you know, a small bit. We use that quite a lot, but so the double, what you said, why it's interesting is because what you just said, like a wee small, actually is just you changing the order. You know, instead of saying a little wee, butter, you just changed it to a wee small. You just adjusted the sentence a bit. So
wee actually means bit.
That's what I'm taking from it. It basically means a little, like you said, but originally it was used as little wee. So I'm thinking like a small bit, a wee bit. You know, kind of
a little bit. Instead of a little bit, it's a little wee.
A little wee.
But yeah, that sounds even weirder now, doesn't it?
That does sound very weird, doesn't it? Cool. So it's a very, very old word then.
Yeah.
We use we for everything in Scottish, you know. Can I have a wee
Yeah.
chat? Can I have a wee chat with you? If your boss says that to you, can I have a wee chat? Very, very serious, you know.
So what do you
Oh.
say when there's a group of people that you're in and you want to have a little chat with David?
Excuse me, David, can I have a wee chat with you?
But if there's a group of you, including you, and you all say it at the same time,
What do you mean? Huh?
like would you say, David, a wee chat? Would you say that?
Can
Could
we have a wee chat?
Could we have a wee chat?
Can we have
Yeah,
a wee
yeah.
chat? Yeah. But we use we for everything, you know. A wee bit. I'm going to have a wee look. That's another one we use as well. I don't know if you use that as well. Yeah.
My area, we use tad instead.
Tad.
Yeah.
Small tad, just a tad.
Hmm.
Just a wee tad.
Oh, yeah, there we go. I've actually heard that. I've heard just a wee tad.
A wee tad more, yeah. Okay. Cool. So wee hours just means to the early morning, yeah. The early morning. We drank. We had a party until the wee small hour. There we go again. Wee small hours. We had a party to the wee hours. Yeah.
There we go.
There we go. Cool. Right. Couple more. Now, this is a bit of a serious question. What's the difference between trick, fool, deceive, and con? Trick, fool, deceive, and con. Any ideas?
Interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're all
Wow.
similar. Again.
This one caught me by surprise. I'd need some time to think through this and prepare for it. I don't even know where to start. Which one do I start
Trick
with?
means I think implies trick means it's a small thing. You know, you've maybe deceived someone, but a small thing. You know,
Do you plan a trick?
you plan
Is there
it.
like some preparation beforehand? Like some thought process or something along those lines, you know?
I think deceive, definitely. I think deceive is kind of like planned, I would say, or a con would definitely be planned. Yeah, because you have con men who really kind of plan it, yeah. And deception, you know.
But con is more persuasive, isn't it? Like it's like a conversation. Deceive is like a pre-done. You'll definitely know what's going to happen. Con, there's a bit of play with the other person. You know, there's a bit of conversation. Like a pyramid scheme would be a good example of a con. Yeah.
Con, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You see what I mean? So there's a bit of conversation involved there.
All right, yeah. So like the confidence trick, I think it comes from the word like confidence trick or a confidence man. You know,
yeah, that's right.
Goes in and totally, you know, says that they are one thing, but they are another thing. Yeah. Yeah, a confidence man. What about fool? To fool someone.
It's interesting.
Listening to you guys describe the other ones, it kind of like I'm starting to see perhaps like a difference between these words in terms of the like how grave the consequences are, or how grave the damage is when
to
the victim of it. So when you like, a trick can be used for something trivial that can also be entertaining but not necessarily harmful. But I mean, a trick can also be harmful, like a magic trick or a skateboarding trick or something like that. And then to fool someone, it sounds like it's something that you do to deceive somebody, but where the consequence only goes as far as to embarrass that person or to make them feel stupid or less intelligent.
So this is where fool comes in. Fool's pretty similar. You feel a fool, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you get to the word con, that's, you know, where it's clearly it was done with malicious intent to take advantage of the subject or the victim for personal gain. And I think all three of these could be different forms of deceit if they are done intentionally. To deceive, I think it just purely refers to the intent of persuading somebody to believe something that you know is not true. Perhaps.
No, that 100% makes sense to me.
I think so, yeah.
Definitely deceive and con are more severe than fool and trick, though, for sure. It's interesting, you know, we have so many descriptive words for like the same similar situations, yeah. So obviously these words have come in at different times into the language, but probably meant the same thing at the beginning. You know, so I'm sure there's definitely some French words, deceive for sure.
Deceive definitely is from the Latin.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, so they have come in and but in different time periods, and maybe just it's really from the same meaning. A lot of words have that, like a lot of them just come through different paths to get here, like whether they come through French or from a Latin or through the Roman invasion, the French, I don't want to call it invasion, but French taking over the monarchy, and then the Vikings or the Anglo-Saxons, etc. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. I think that's the thing with English, why it's so difficult. It's kind of a mixture of, you know, many different kind of influences, isn't it? You know? Okay, cool. So I hope that's answered that one. That's been a bit of one to go through, isn't it? A bit difficult one, you know. Yeah. Right, we'll do a couple more because I know that we're pressing on. The usual one that everyone asks: how to improve my vocabulary? How do we improve our vocabulary? What do you advise students to do to improve their vocabulary?
Such a vague question, isn't it? There's many ways. There's so many ways. It depends. The thing is, it depends on their goal. What I've realized recently is it really depends on your goal. There is so much vocabulary to learn. You cannot 100% English because it evolves. Yeah. So I recommend to many people to just work out what their goal is, or it doesn't even need to be a goal, but what they aim to achieve, or why they're doing it is the most important thing. And then if it's for business, then they should I would rather them go boom, find everything, to really go into the section that they're more interested, is more important for them. Yeah. You know, and concentrate on one dialect is probably important, but be aware. If we're talking about usage or knowledge, this is really important to know. You can be aware of as much vocabulary as you want, but you don't have to use every single piece of vocabulary. I don't think it's necessary. Yeah. You know, so.
Okay. David, what about you? How would you suggest someone to improve their vocabulary?
I agree with, I would go about answering that very similar to Stu. It really depends what they mean by improve your vocabulary. If they're, say, preparing for a test like the SATs, which are used in the United States, I know that they will specifically test you on like all these really complex technical words that are never used in day-to-day conversation. They're not even used in like specialist professions even. These are words that you know just if you're planning to be a Scrabble pro. And
I like it.
And if that's your goal, if you're just preparing for a test where you need to memorize the definitions of various words, or as many words as you can, flashcards, SRS, the spaced repetition system of memorizing, like those methods will work, drilling and all of that. But are those methods going to allow you to be able to use those words appropriately in their context when you speak? Definitely not. I prepared the SATs when I was in high school because I was planning to go to university in the United States. It didn't end up happening, but I took the SATs. And can I use all those words that I memorized when I was studying for the SAT? No.
And you? No,
I can't. I can recognize them. If I see them or I hear them, I'll know what they mean, but I don't use them on a day-to-day basis. So I'd say,
go on.
I'd say if your goal with learning more vocabulary is to be able to actually use it, and if it's relevant for your work or whatever it is that you do, your hobbies, then you need to be immersing yourself in opportunities where you actually get to use them, live them, experience them in context. That's what helped with me in my Japanese. It helped me break out of a plateau.
Yeah.
I was in a 100% Japanese environment for like a year on my second visit to Japan. And all the Japanese I was using was just at home with my wife talking about house related stuff.
Yeah.
once I started working at this Japanese company where I'm working right now, all of a sudden, my immediate needs for the register of vocabulary I need to use has changed. I now need to use words like, report, sales, profits, losses, cost. Like they've got different words for the cost that you, for the word for stock that you bring into your inventory, and then the cost that you pay on it. Yeah, but all of those words I now know, not because I drilled it from a book or a list. It's because I'm using it on a day-to-day basis for things that are relevant to me.
So it's actually when you're learning, it's actually specific to what you actually need and what you use. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's your Japanese, Stu?
Terrible, because I don't use it. So like that, kind of going to what David's saying, really. Like I wake up, I speak in English to my kids so they can learn English. Then I go to work and I can only speak in English there. That's the rules. Then I come back home and then make lots of English content for people. So it's kind of limited the time I actually use Japanese, to be honest. But I do want to improve that. It's just facilitating, making sure that I create opportunities to use the language. And I think that's really key for, this question is so vague. It doesn't say anything about knowledge or what the reason is why they've asked that. And I think, sometimes we get confused when we listen to someone. We think we're hearing new words. It's just the fact that native speakers connect words together, and it's just two words that could be separated if you saw it written down. It's just one ended in T and started with a T, the other one, and they connected the two together, and it's just unfortunate, those situations. But there's many ways. I mean, I tend not to advise books, actually. I tend not to, because I don't think it's spoken language. What do you think? What's your opinion?
What for spoken?
Yeah, I don't recommend people to read books to improve their vocabulary, because it's not really regularly used language.
Yeah, I think when I was learning Spanish, I lived in Spain, and I would get the Spanish newspaper and I would go through it. Didn't know any of the vocabulary, but if I liked the sound of a word, I would pick it out, and then I would try and make 3 sentences with that word in Spanish, and that way that I would remember it. I always kind of say to people, if you like the sound of a word to increase your vocabulary, if you like the sound of it, use that, If you enjoy it, then if you enjoy the sound of that, then you've got more chances of remembering that piece of vocabulary,
But my only concern with newspapers is that people try to use that in everyday conversation, and there's a lot of political terms that are unnecessary, or how to sound like a native speaker is another question like this, and we don't sound like a newspaper or a book, that's for sure, because of the language is used to create an image in your head. So it has to be really specific vocabulary. But to be honest, my favorite word is lush. I use it for everything. Great. This one word can be used. That's lush. That's great. Or I feel lush. I feel good. It can be used in so many ways. But I just use the same word over and over again.
Yeah.
Because it's just convenient, and convenience is the key with conversation, and
absolutely.
This is interesting, really interesting question, but
it is a good one. I was watching the movie Donnie Brasco the other night. I don't know if you've seen it, and the guy, one of the guys says, "What does forget about it mean? Forget about it." And he said, "Well, it can mean that you don't care, forget about it, or it means that shut up, forget about it, or it means just forget about it. Don't remember it. He said there was about 10 or 15 different ways or meanings of forget about it. All depends on the context.
100%.
Yeah, right, guys. Well, I mean, that's us had the hour. I hope. Is there anything you want to add to this?
Thank you for letting me be involved. It was very interesting. I've learned some bits off of David as well, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
you and David.
Yeah, I think so. It's always good to get other kind of people's, I guess, kind of input, if you like, into how they see vocabulary and expressions, etc. So yeah, it's been pretty good. Is there anything else you want to add to anything here?
I just want to say thank you, Ken, for having me on, and Stu as well for making the time. I'm sorry I didn't see your messages earlier when you're supposed to do this earlier. Thank you for coming back, Stu. And
Oh, I saw,
and
no.
and I'm really glad that I got to learn some stuff from you guys as well, which I'm going to be using with my students.
Yeah, I've got, yeah. Same as me, yeah. Same as me. It's
I'm not-
always fantastic to get some.
I'm not paying you for it though, Ken.
Pay it forward, you know. Benefiting,
Yeah.
pay it forward, yeah. Pay it forward.
100%.
Well, guys, it's been a pleasure, and hopefully we can do this again in the very, very near future, yeah?
100%
Oh man, I would
anytime.
love to. Thank you.
Cool. Excellent. Let me just